This is the third video on the teaching your horse the come get me trick, or parallel parking your horse, whatever you want to call it. So obviously after you get your horse to come to you up on the fence, the next thing you're going to want to teach them is to bring their butt to the fence. Now, and this is Creaker. I'm using a bit and he's not really familiar with that yet, so I ask him to move over, and like right there he kind of gives a little bit to the pressure, and because he's not real familiar with it, I'm like, okay, great, we'll call that good. Now we'll go back to something that he knows. Creaker responds better at this stage right now if I ask him to bring the hip closest to the fence over versus tapping on the outside hip and asking him to bring it over that way. Once he brings his hip over, then I just ask him to stand in the right position and reward him and pet him and just get him used to me touching him in that position. So in this clip, this is where the bucket kind of comes in back nice, because Creaker is a little confused on what I'm asking, which that's totally normal. And instead of him yanking and pulling on me, he goes around that invisible bucket and goes back into the position I want. Instead of trying to get necessarily away from me, he's doing circles. If it's not perfect, I don't really worry about that. I'm just trying to get him comfortable with the idea of standing and moving forward and being close to the gate at this point. Once he's more comfortable with that, I can kind of start incorporating the snap into getting him to come and move forward when I snap. After he stands in position the right way, I can start kind of putting my weight on him, getting him used to just standing with me laying on him. A lot of these steps are the same steps that you're going to use for mounting practice. Now we have Betty. She's from Devil's Garden. I want to say she's like 6 now. I'm not even sure. But she responds good to the tapping the outside hip and bringing it over. She fidgets around a lot more than Creaker, and so that was a main focus with her, is just getting her to stand in the right position. If I can get a little bit of what I want out of them, I'll focus on the right thing. I'll ignore the moving away, being nervous, because that will go away once they build confidence that they're doing the right thing. If your horse is like flat up against the fence, but they're not quite in the right position, then you can, just ask them to go forward a few steps at first, and then go forward a little bit more until they get to where the stirrup is at your leg, and you can move a little bit further up the fence and just keep doing that and repeating the same things over and over again until your horse is confident in what you're asking. I personally spend a lot of time getting the horse comfortable with being lined up, because it's really, to me, important to have my horse just stand there in the right position for me when I go to mount. Once they're standing nicely, I'll start putting weight in the stirrup and just getting them used to that. I don't want them moving away from me while I'm doing that. Again, it's a lot of just putting small things together for the big picture. It's a fun thing for you and your horse to do together. And after you're good at the come get me trick, you can also work on teaching your horse to drop you off on a fence, which that also can carry over to getting your horse used to opening and closing fences, pivoting their body around things. When I'm teaching my horses something, I like to give them examples of what they're learning and why they're learning it, instead of just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And once your horse is good at it, it's a fun for your kids to be able to do that. It makes getting on a horse easier for a kid who's short if they can just have a horse come to a fence or a gate to come and get them. Again, there's lots of different ways this can be done. This is just some of the steps that I take when teaching my horses how to do this.